Greetings, insects. FiOth here, and in this review we're gonna have a look at System Shock Remake. The, remake of the original dungeon crawler / immersive sim that came out when we were toddlers. System Shock 1 is an ancient game and it has a huge legacy coming after it. Of course, System Shock 2 came out in the early 2000s and cemented the term immersive sim, a classic by every metric, so someone had to take them upon themselves to bring back the OG. How does this measure up? First and foremost, I have to tell you that this was supposed to come out years ago, and when I say years, there were some announcements taking it back all the way to 2017. But Night Dive obviously ran into some issues. I think the project at some point also shifted hands and it was in development hell. There's been a demo available on Steam for some time now, and when it comes to the technology of the game, how it looks and how it sounds, it's very close to what we finally got. So, how does System Shock Remake measure up to the OG and to expectations? As we always do here at Honest AF Reviews, no spoilers, just out of context gameplay. This is a not cutscene dialogue heavy video game, of course. It's a dungeon crawler, you barely get any snippets of dialogue through audio logs, and there is nothing to worry about, nothing will be spoiled. Getting the basics out of the way, this is a title designed with old school mentality in mind. That means Pathways into Darkness, System Shock, Deus Ex, games that relied on you to use your brain to progress, didn't have pointers everywhere, didn't have little arrows showing you where you should go. Back then, developers trusted the people who played the games to have a functional brain, so they designed their games accordingly. In System Shock Remake, you're gonna feel lost, and the Citadel Station on which it takes place is an open area of huge proportions that is largely available from the start, and you just have to figure shit out. It's a daunting task and you'll feel lost most of the time, but that's part of the appeal. Piecing together the larger mystery and making headway where there is little info to go on with is a very rewarding experience. What really hits home when it comes to playing the remake instead of the OG is how refined certain mechanics have gotten, like the shooting is fantastic and the overall performance of the game is stellar. Even with a pretty weak machine, you can make this thing fly. Couple of occasions where I have some hiccups because the environment was oversaturated with particles or screens or transparencies, but all in all, this is excellent when it comes to optimization. Didn't have any issues. For the review copy of the game, there is a glitch where you sometimes load a quick save and it will crash the game altogether. Doesn't corrupt your save, you just have to rerun it, but it is a review copy and I have to thank the publisher very much for providing it. The design of what you see around you is very interesting because when you see everything from far away, it looks very high definition. But when you get up close, there is a pixel artifact, like a layer on top of everything else that gives it immense charm and takes you back to the game's roots. Because it's one thing to redesign everything aesthetically and a totally different thing to have these homages to the original design. I love this little tidbit of details and I couldn't have done it better myself. When it comes to the sound though, that thing hits you like a tidal wave because of its sheer quality. Every voice you're gonna hear in an audio log, every shot, every step, every sound produced by the enemies in the environment is stellar, with the exception of whacking mutants with a wrench that does barely produce any oomph, but then again, I have never struck a person with a wrench, so I'm not 100% sure what it would sound like. Thing I have to make abundantly clear is for the people who were toddlers back in the day, don't expect anyone to narrate for you in this one, and in most of these old school dungeon crawly immersive sims, you get your information through audio logs, text logs, environmental storytelling, and that voice burrowing through your implants and into your fleshy brain. Not gonna say anything about that for people who have no idea what System Shock is about, but you'll know when you start hearing it. Gameplay wise, the title is very close to its roots, albeit it brings modern aiming and item interaction mechanics into the mix. Everything is pretty basic when it comes to how you handle inventory. You have a grid, you put items in, and eventually you unlock specific bins where you can put your items in and they will spawn on bins on different floors of the station. Like Resident Evil, more or less. This structure is straightforward but very limiting. By the mid to late game, you won't have space either in your inventory or in set bins, so you'll have to just discard certain items, leave them on the floor. 99% of the time when I left something on the floor and came back 3 hours later, it was still there. It kinda retains a total save state of the world and nothing gets lost, but things stop being readily available because they will be in the ass end of nowhere. Now, a warning to all of you, the game is really punishing. There is a system in place called the security level of each floor of the station, and you can reduce that by destroying CPUs and cameras. That kinda cuts off the master brain's access to seeing you and hearing you and deploying enemies to your position. Until you've reached 0% on that bar, you will be constantly assaulted by enemies in varying numbers. That means that you have to manage your supplies so that you come on top after every encounter. Enemies will sometimes leave you some loot like bullets or a healing item, but if you take too long to unravel what's happening, you'll be wasting more than you are getting. A very big chunk of the gameplay is also tied around the vaporization of items to create blobs of resource materials that you drop into a recycler, and then the recycler gives you credits that you can use to buy ammunition and other consumables. I would love to have an option in the options menu to auto vaporize trash. Night dive, because going into the inventory, right-clicking, vaporizing, and then dragging the new piece on the older stack is very 90-90. Apart from that, the flow of the gameplay is very healthy. You will be drawn into discovering a new pathway, paying attention to what's around you, finding that hidden ledge or pipe or maintenance shaft, getting in there, getting the loot, getting that audio log that relays the fate of one of the people who, up until a few hours ago, were amongst the living. They've done an excellent job of relaying the scale of destruction caused by what happened and to which the character is thrust into and have to survive, amongst other things. It's horror to an extent, but not overwhelmingly so, and it doesn't sport any jump scares. It's just the oppressing atmosphere that works to great effect, and it really sucks you in. Like with a pair of good headphones, you're gonna have an excellent time. I am pretty sure by the time you watch this review, they will have already patched the game to remove any small bugs. You will also be playing a segment of this in cyberspace where you have to hack some stuff. It's a pretty old school shmup, like a shoot 'em up from the days of yore, and both the aesthetics, the sound, and the design of the gameplay will remind you of Tempest 2000 from the Jag era. It's very good stuff, very heartwarming, and it takes you back in a very efficient manner. System Shock Remake is a good game from day one. Is this hard to believe? Yes, in this day and age, where we get all the shovelware, half-baked shit that they try to shove down our throats, here's a smaller studio, once again, tasked with recreating one of the most beloved games of all time, and they did a stellar job at doing so. Once I started, I couldn't put it down, just prepared for some mind-wrenching confusion when it comes to navigate Citadel, but by the end of the adventure, you will feel very rewarded and happy with your investment. It's been my honest AF review of System Shock Insect. Hope you liked it. Sub, like, and share for more reviews like this. Until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always strive for perfection. Cheers!